Alright, I'm Chris McKeever and I'm going to be doing a video essay for my gender and comics class. The essay is going to be on anthropomorphic animal characters that are in comic books. I'm going to attempt to explore the way in which the female characters are hyper-feminized and hypersexualized, and the male characters are extremely aggressive and super masculine. So to start off, I did some research and I found the reason why a lot of anthropomorphic animal characters exist is because cartoonists use that as a way to convey what the character's personality traits are to be. So if a character is supposed to be a lioness, then they're probably going to be very fierce and ferocious. Whereas if a character is drawn to be like a sheep kind of person, then they're probably shy and docile. Right. So it got me to thinking about the characters that I see in comic books that are anthropomorphic animals. Take for instance Rouge the Bat from the Sonic universe. In the comic books and the cartoons and all of the different things that the Sonic franchise has made, Rouge is drawn to be very sexy and very, very feminine. Sorry, I'm laughing because I don't know. I'm describing a bat as sexy. Bats are creatures of the night. They are nocturnal, right? I hope so. I didn't do my research on bats. I did my research on sexy animals. Bats are supposed to be of the night and mysterious and aloof, and that very much is Rouge's character, but with a hint of sexy. Why? Because she's a female anthropomorphic. Ugh. You're gonna hear me mess that up a lot. I'm telling you, I don't feel like editing it that much, so just bear with me. That is a hard word. Rouge's character is very, very independent and self-sufficient, and she is very much a femme fatale, if you will. But even though she is a character that is very strong-willed, she still is dependent on other male characters. There are a lot of examples in the comic books where she is able to fend for herself for a little while, but then she always has to be rescued by somebody, whether it's by Shadow or somebody just to have some backup. Still, through that, she is very sexualized, and every single time she's drawn or even animated in the video games, she has an animation where her breasts bounce. Someone animated a bat to have tits, one of all, and then animated it to bounce. That is intention. Her character is very sexualized, but it's not the only example of a character that's sexualized. However, even though a lot of the characters are very, hyper-femme sexualized characters, a lot of them are also young, docile creatures like Cream and Amy. But if you flip to the other side, a lot of the male characters are very aggressive and misogynistic. Take for example Knuckles and Shadow. They are very aggressive characters, very masculine characters. Even Sonic, he's not as aggressive, but he is very misogynistic. You look at this kind of dichotomy, and the reason why I'm using Sonic as an example specifically is because a good 90% of the characters in that universe are anthropomorphic animals. So it's a really good reference point for my topic. But you can see that in other things, such as in the manga Yu-Gi-Oh! If you look at characters such as Harpy Lady, which is one of my favorite ones to look at, she's this very hyper-feminized, very hypersexualized bird-like creature. And if you look at pretty much any of the male characters that are anthropomorphic characters, monsters, if you will, in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe, they're very aggressive. The male is very aggressive, the female is very sexualized, docile. Doing research on this topic got me thinking a lot about how women are portrayed in comic books in general. Not necessarily just strictly the anthropomorphic ones, but it really does date back to even superhero comic books and how the women are portrayed. Because the characters that I'm researching, the anthropomorphic ones, they do stem from a superhero kind of complex. One of the sources that I do have is the Politics of Powerpuff putting the girl into girl power, and it led me to a very important scene from one of the Powerpuff Girls episodes, Equal Fights. They discuss in that episode how a lot of superhero women are just extensions of their male counterparts.
They're so lame, merely extensions of their male counterparts. Who besides you is a heroine in her own right?
Ha! There's Wonder Woman and, Wonder Woman? She's right! There is no one else!
And some of that does ring true in a lot of these examples of these anthropomorphic animal characters. Amy is sometimes seen as just an extension of Sonic. Rouge is sometimes seen as just an extension of Shadow, or any of the other male characters she interacts with, whether it be Knuckles or that robot one. Omega? I forgot his name. Even in the Yu-Gi-Oh universe, there are a lot of male Yu-Gi-Oh cards that have female counterparts to them. Dark Magician to the Dark Magician girl, even though they aren't anthropomorphic, they're still monsters. There's always a that. There's always a that. And even some of the research that I did seems to lead to the idea of anthropomorphic animals can also be racist. A lot of the times the Amazonian women there seem to be like animal, barbarian kind of characters, and you see that a lot in a lot of comics. But there are plenty of more examples of anthropomorphic animals that exist within the continuum of all of this. At the end of the day, a lot of this comes down to aesthetics. In the research that I did, a lot of the aesthetics are heavily put on the female characters, I think especially because they want that sexualization, whereas the male characters, the aesthetic isn't really emphasized, it's more just about being an aggressive personality. And a lot of these characters exhibit a lot of stereotypes about the archetypes that female characters seem to need to fill for the comic book quota, if you will. But to wrap up, I think that a lot of the times comics take stereotypes that the world seems to project and they put them in these very restrictive roles. That's what a lot of my research says anyway. And in conclusion, I don't know how to say a conclusion on a video, so I think I'll just say bye.